everyone, so hi! Today I am about to discuss one of the classes of biological building blocks or biomolecules, namely lipids. But before anything else, let me define you first the biomolecules. Biomolecules are molecules that occur naturally in living organisms such as human beings, animals, and plants. These contain mainly of carbon and hydrogen with nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus. They are also very large molecules of many atoms that are covalently bound together. Alright, let's now proceed to our main topic, lipids. Lipids are a class of large biomolecules that are not formed through polymerization. Why are lipids not considered polymers? Polymers are chains of subunit molecules that are all similar in a way that allows the subunits to continue building longer molecules on either end. By contrast, lipids are chains of carbohydrates that are chemically bonded, such as by dehydration, to each other into a new larger molecule and have a unique starting molecule that is different from the subunits. So lipids only grow in one direction. So this is an example of structure of lipids, and as you can see, this head of the structure is quite unique and different from the other subunits of the entire structure. So that's it. Meanwhile, here are the functions of lipids, and the very first one is as an energy storage. They function for energy storage, providing 9 food calories of 37 kilojoules of energy per gram. Lipids actually have more compact way to store energy than carbohydrates, resulting to our body to use fat to store energy over long periods of time and uses carbohydrates to store energy short term. Look at this girl jogging all along. Let's say she went through numerous activities before she runs, but even after doing so, she can still have energy stored by lipids for later use. So the next one is for the cushioning of vital organs and for insulation. Take this dolphin as an example. Lipids in its body helps it to withstand the cold environment, enabling him to continue living. Actually, it's also the same with other animals. Lipids are stored throughout your body in connective structures called the adipose tissue. They provide cushion and support to protect vital internal organs such as the liver, kidney, spleen, and heart from injury. Lipids also provide thermal insulation. In addition, your body utilizes lipids to generate heat when the external temperature drops too low. This helps to keep your body warm and maintain the proper body temperature. So, the last but not the least of the functions of lipids is to play an important role in plasma membrane structure and serve as precursors for important reproductive hormones. So lipid may provide the barrier that marks the boundaries of a cell. Perhaps it can also involve itself with the cellular activities that may be frequently carried out. So I am now to tackle this topic further, starting with the classifications of this biomolecule class. But how are lipids actually classified? Well, they can be divided into 3 main classes according to the differences in structure and function. These classifications are fats or triglycerides, phospholipids, and steroids and sterols. They have diverse structures, but all are nonpolar and mix poorly, if at all, with water. That's why this class of biomolecule is also known to be hydrophobic, meaning they are insoluble or can never be mixed in water. So, let us now take a closer look at each category of lipids, and let's start with fats or triglycerides. But, do you ever wonder how are fats formed? Well, fats are formed from dehydration reactions between glycerol or an alcohol with 3 carbons, each with an hydroxyl group, forming 3 ester linkages with 3 fatty acids and producing 3 molecules of water. But let me define you first what dehydration reaction is. A dehydration reaction is a chemical reaction between 2 compounds where one of the products is water. So this is the reason why it undergoes dehydration process, because as what I have said, it produces water. And this reaction between glycerol and fatty acids produce triglyceride. Alright, so this is an example or illustration of a fat structure. So this part here is the structure from the glycerol, while this one here are the 3 fatty acids. Do you get it? So let us now then proceed to the 3 basic types of fats, namely saturated fats, unsaturated fats, and trans fats. And let's know what are their differences to one another. Let's begin with saturated fats. So these are the fats that are tightly packed, and sources of this type of fat include red meat, some pork and chicken products, dairy products including butter and cheese. And diets high in these fats may increase the risk of developing atherosclerosis, a condition in which fatty deposits develop within the walls of blood vessels, increasing the incidence of cardiovascular disease. So, if I were you, I will be really careful of my intake of foods high in this type of fat. Meanwhile, fats that are loosely packed are called unsaturated fat. Mind you, this type of fat is much healthier than saturated fats. They come from plants and are found in vegetables, olives, nuts and seeds, and some fish also contain unsaturated fats. The bent structure prevents close packing and results in oils or fats that are liquid at room temperature. Example given is the peanut butter. And so guys, the last but not the least are the trans fats. Trans fats may be produced artificially through the process of hydrogenation. So what it is? Hydrogenation is a process in which hydrogen is added to an oil to make it more solid. Trans fats can be found in many foods including fried foods like donuts and baked goods including cakes, cookies, and pizza. Studies show that trans fats are even more dangerous to health than saturated fats to the extent that they have been banned from restaurants in some countries. So, I wish you already had enough information about fats and its classes. Let us now proceed to the next classification of lipids, the phospholipids. So they are the major components of cell membranes, and as you can see here in this magnified illustration of cell membrane, these ones here are the phospholipids. As membrane components, they are selectively permeable or also called semi-permeable, meaning that only certain molecules can pass through them to enter or exit the cell. Molecules that dissolve in fat can pass through easily, while molecules that dissolve in water cannot. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, and urea are some molecules that can pass through the cell membrane easily, while large molecules like glucose or ions like sodium and potassium cannot pass through easily the cell membranes. So what do you think compose phospholipids? Well, a phospholipid is composed of 2 fatty acid tails that are made up of hydrogen and carbon, and phosphate group consisting of phosphorus with 4 oxygen molecules, and these 2 components are connected via a third molecule called glycerol. So phospholipids are able to form cell membranes because the phosphate group head is hydrophilic or water-loving, while the fatty acid tails are hydrophobic or water-hating. They automatically arrange themselves in a certain pattern in water because of these properties and form cell membranes. To form membranes, phospholipids line up next to each other with their heads on the outside of the cell and their tails on the inside. A second layer of phospholipids also forms with the heads facing the inside of the cell and tails facing away. In this way, a double layer is formed with phosphate group heads on the outside and fatty acid tails on the inside. This double layer, called lipid bilayer, forms the main part of the cell membrane. So that's all for the phospholipids. Now the last but not the least in the list of classifications of lipids, the steroids and sterols. They are among the organic compounds of biochemistry, and it helps us to withstand the changes of external and internal climates and many more. Steroids are present in animals and plant life alike, while sterols are a subgroup of steroids and an important form of biomolecule. They are present in all kinds of life forms, from plants to animals to fungi. The most familiar form of animal sterol is cholesterol. So, before moving on to the basic functions of this classification of lipids, let us first talk about the two types of cholesterol, the high-density lipoprotein cholesterol or HDL and the low-density lipoprotein cholesterol or LDL. Lipoproteins are made of fat and proteins, and cholesterol moves through your body while inside lipoproteins. HDL is known as good cholesterol because it transports cholesterol to your liver to be expelled from your body. It helps rid your body of excess cholesterol so it is less likely to end up in your arteries. Meanwhile, LDL is called bad cholesterol because it takes cholesterol to your arteries where it may collect in artery walls. This instance may lead to a buildup of plaque known as atherosclerosis, as I have mentioned a while ago. And now, let's see what are the functions of steroids and sterols. So first, it helps us to keep the fluidity of cell membranes and serves as a secondary messenger in developmental signaling. Next is, it controls sexual characteristics and are the base material for the production of sex hormones like estradiol and progesterone. The third one is, it helps us to digest the food we intake. The oil fats are being emulsified during digestion because of sterols and steroids. Right? Lastly, the structure of steroids and sterols are different. The steroid skeleton contains 17 carbons in 4-ring system while sterols has hydroxyl attached to the 4th carbon. It has 27 carbon ring system as well. If you look at their structure, you can easily differentiate the two. So that's all for our lesson about lipids. I hope you have learned so much, and if there are some pointers appearing to be confusing to you, I suggest you to watch this video again. Thank you!